Today we're going to talk about how high can MicroStrategy stock realistically trade in 2025. I think we can all feel a breakout is rumbling. It feels like it's coming soon. We really needed this week to put in a pretty decently sized green bar, which it did. And I loved that Monday morning it kind of gapped down and it felt like it was one of those capitulation moves where the market maker algorithms were really just trying to get people to sell at the worst time possible. It traded as low as $358, ended up this week. Volatility woke back up. We put in a big wide weekly bar, traded as high as $398. So like a 40-point weekly bar there from bottom to top, ultimately closing at $383.88. Bitcoin currently trading at about $107,000. And if you're wondering, this is the breakout level that I put. So the breakout levels for MicroStrategy are from the log scale chart, but I put them on the linear scale chart here. That's a separate video that we could do. Currently today though, but that's good for timing a breakout though, seeing those on the linear chart. I said, how high can MicroStrategy trade in 2025? So I looked at the last trading week of the year, and in this green channel, which by the way, contains all the recent relevant price action, going back connecting the 2021 top to the 2024 top before we set a new top, which I do believe we do in 2025, which would have you rethink this whole chart. But since we haven't done it yet, the highest this green chart says we can trade in 2025 is about $664, and that puts us in the last trading week of the year. Jumping over here to my red chart, I connected the bottoms instead of the tops. This is why I was saying MSTR really needed to find a bottom soon. Otherwise, the expansion angle of this channel was going to get weaker and weaker, and people talking about blow off tops and really high price projections for MicroStrategy, it would be less and less likely. Like, it wouldn't be in the cards. That's why we needed to start turning higher quickly. Just so you guys know, I can let you visualize it here, because the longer it takes, the less steep this expansion angle becomes, which means we're not going higher realistically. We're not going as high. So I'm glad that it turned around when it did. The sooner the better. And if I go out to December of this year, December 2025, we could trade as high as $1,200 a share. The third chart I want to show you is this pattern that we saw in 2020 to 2021. It had the parabola structure, and we saw MicroStrategy's price really take off pre-split from $16 up to $130 for a gain of like 700%. And by the way, we've already kind of done that this run up. So just so you know, it might sound like a lot then, but we've already kind of eclipsed that. But check this out. So this structure here, these are daily bars, and we are actually playing this out on a much larger scale right now. So now we're in a similar parabola with the 1, 2, 3 phases. Okay. And what I did here was I basically went from when we broke in to phase 3, because we're about to enter phase 3. And I just measured up, and it came to like 125% gain. So what I did was I came over here and I said, okay, if we do 125% gain from where we would enter phase 3 based on the current structure, that would take us to about $900 a share for MicroStrategy. Here is the next chart. This is the log scale chart. And on the log scale chart, I noticed I have these lines in like dark gray. They're probably hard to see. Let me make them like red and just show you what I'm seeing here. Because again, I'm trying to make these realistic price targets. And you might expect the log scale for MicroStrategy to be more aggressive, but these log scale like overhead resistance lines have been pretty relevant. They're not an exact science, guys, but you can see how they've factored into recent price action. And so if I extend this out from the 2024 November top in MicroStrategy, and I go out to December 2025, you know, it takes us to $634 a share. So it's not that aggressive of a price target. I just wanted, I mean, most likely, guys, I think we'll go significantly higher, like twice as high at a minimum. But we may see that act as resistance when we initially run into it. Like, you can just do the exact same thing right here. So you had your 2021 top. And again, guys, this is the log scale. So if this isn't looking familiar to you, I just wanted to make sure you are aware. Log scale, okay? But if you go back to the 2021 top, and then you look at the 2024 March top, that was the overhead resistance right there. You know, and this is the same expansion angle that has been in play really going back all the way to like the 2001, you know, decline in MicroStrategy, it's kind of provided that overhead resistance that we didn't really break through until 2021. So that's a 20 years of relevance built up into this angle. And I just duplicated it twice here. So at least I think $634 would be a pivot point on the way up. I'm not saying that you would want to sell that, but I don't know. Maybe it's a good time to like hedge with some puts or something like that. We'll revisit that obviously down the line. This is the next chart I want to show you. I pulled this up in a recent video, but I just want to like show you guys. It's a good charting exercise. So the channel that used to contain MicroStrategy was something like this until we broke out of this channel, right? Anybody who said you can't break out, no, you can. We saw it happen right there, right behind me, right? Now what I did for this price projection is I measured from the top of this channel to this top right here. It's about 155% gain. So now we need to, in order to make that usable, we need to redraw the channel. And we're basically just recreating my green channel from the initial first chart that we looked at right here. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a 155% gain and apply it to the top of this channel and chart it out in the last trading week of December for 2025. And what do you know? It takes us to $1,370 MicroStrategy. So you see how I'm not just coming up with random numbers. I'm giving you how we got to arrive at these numbers. They're not an exact science, but at least we're not like stretching too much. And here you can like see what it would look like on the chart. So instead of me just shouting big numbers, it's like, well, what would it look like here? Well, when we get above this breakout level, rest assured, we're going to get some explosive price action for MicroStrategy. It might have to look something like that. I don't know. I mean, it still feels a little bit like a stretch when you start drawing it out, but we know how explosive moves in MicroStrategy can be. And obviously the higher the price climbs, the more significant a move of, you know, like, again, this is why we do it in percentages versus in dollar amounts, right? Because a 10% move when you're trading at $1,000 a share is significantly higher than a 10% move when you're at $380 a share. Obviously simple math, right? But that's why the log scale does come into play. Okay, the next chart. Wait, this chart looks familiar. Yeah, that's because it's the same red chart we looked at back here for chart number 2. But check this out. It's the same chart, but notice if we take this expansion angle and we apply it to the 2021 top, like I did here, and I'll make this line thicker. If we apply that same expansion angle here, December 2025, we can actually get a higher price target of 2,700. So this is in the cards. It is technically feasible that this could happen. And if you really want to know, like if things got real crazy, you can apply this same logic back here to the .com bubble and you can extend that out. And I didn't even put this on the chart, but we can just do it in real time here. December 2025, you're looking at MSTR 10,766. Now, do I think that happens in 2025? No, I don't. But it is worth mentioning that like that is in play down the line. When people talk about MSTR becoming the most valuable company in the world, like those trend lines from all the way back then start to come into play. This is the last chart for MSTR that I want to show you, but it has the most bullish price projection. Now, I struggle to draw it the way that I see other YouTubers and people on Twitter draw it, but this is the log scale chart. And I personally don't like to draw like channels and linear lines on log scale charts, even though, I mean, yeah, they can come into play, but it feels like cheating to me personally. But I'm going to draw a price channel here on the log scale chart, and let's just draw it like that. Okay, so we're going back as far as January 2022. So we've got like 3+ years of price action in this channel. And if we just follow the channel upwards, now I redrew the channel, of course, when I started recording. So maybe we adjust this down and it comes to about 1,700 MicroStrategy. The problem is I've seen other YouTubers like V-Trades draw basically this channel and somehow get to like $4,000 a share MicroStrategy in 2025. So like theoretically we could, I don't know, connect the bottoms. Like it just feels like cheating. I don't know. To me, it feels like cheating because it's the log scale chart. But where does that put us? That puts us at like 7,500 a share MSTR. So your guess is kind of as good as mine here with regards to like the perfect way to draw this channel. The further back in time you go in terms of like including peaks, the higher the price target's going to get. What if it's something like this and then your upper bounds in 2025 becomes, you know, $870? That could also be in play. Time will tell. But if Bitcoin rips, speaking of Bitcoin, that's the last chart I did want to show you guys. If Bitcoin rips, then MSTR should, start to climb out of channels like this and start creating, newer expansion lines. Obviously on the log scale though, like every little incremental move vertical ends up being extremely significant. Like this is, you see where my mouse is, that's $1,000. Up here, that's 12,000. So it may not seem like a lot, but that's why log scale is a little bit different. Let's close out with Bitcoin, guys. I marked on this chart the yellow dots, which is when the 21 EMA for weekly goes up through the 200 daily moving average. It's very significant for Bitcoin. It's very rare. Of the 8 times it's happened in the last 10 years, the average return after 2 weeks has been 22% for Bitcoin. After 4 weeks, it's been 40%. By the end of the run, the average return has been 203%. And that's actually with me filtering out the biggest, most bullish time that it happened because the numbers were so big, it was going to skew all the rest of the data. But the last one was the first one in the last 10 years was January 2022, 2015. I even skipped that one because the returns were too insane. So if that's enough to propel us above this white resistance line, which is the true resistance, it's the true reason why we have not seen the big breakout in MicroStrategy and Bitcoin yet. It's because we need to close above the white resistance. We must close above that. Next week, it's going to be at around 116,000 and maybe 200. Okay, we need to close above it. But then if you go back in time and look, like we've gotten a back test almost every time. So right there, you got a back test. Right here, you actually got knocked back under and then you came back up. You got a back test. This time right here, first time you went up, it was clean. So you're good that time. And then this time also it was clean. But that was also when Bitcoin was trading at like $14. And then this time it was trading at $283. This time it was trading at 2,600. But as it matures, you start to get more like algorithmic manipulation that like forces back tests of the level. I just need you guys to at least be aware, if you're subscribed to my channel, to at least know like this is what we're actually waiting for. Okay. And I imagine that the Bitcoin like crossing up and breaking out of this level, which will result in a vertical move as it has every time since the inception of Bitcoin over 10 years ago, will correlate with MicroStrategy breaking out of its level here on the log scale chart. Where did it go? Yeah, right here on the log scale chart. So if you're wondering why MicroStrategy is lagging behind Bitcoin, like that's pretty much why. It's because when MicroStrategy crosses up through its breakout level, it's most likely going to correspond to Bitcoin crossing out above its breakout level. It's just waiting for Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is just waiting for Bitcoin. And then they're both going to rip like crazy. Anyways, if we apply this logic, 203% average return from the 21 going up through the 200, it takes us to like 291,000 as a price target by the end of the year for Bitcoin. Do I really think we get there by the end of the year? Probably not. I think that'd be more of a 2026. I'm actually thinking that Bitcoin could do something like this. If we just clone this bar pattern right here, I think that it could do something like this, and I'm gonna have to scale it down because this is a log scale. So even though it may look like we're making this move less significant, what I just did right there takes us to 223,000 Bitcoin by March of 2026. This to me feels very realistic. It even aligns with the two parabolas that go back to again, Bitcoin's inception right here back in 2011, 2012. Okay. And you get these two parabolas. The red one, it looks like we'd hit it. We consolidate a little bit. And then boom, we go back up to the top parabola there, maybe end the run at 225,000. But that would certainly fuel MicroStrategy to go even higher than I think any price target we've talked about in this video. Maybe it does hit the $4,000 price target on the log scale chart. I wanted to show you guys on the ballistic acceleration model here. It only goes up to 150,000 Bitcoin. I swear it used to go higher. But anyways, it says that at $150,000 Bitcoin, the fair value price of MicroStrategy should be at least 1,100, and $150,000 Bitcoin is like hitting this red line. I mean, it's actually even lower. So that seems very much in the cards as a reasonable price target this run. And if we go down here, I also wanted to show you guys that like, you notice where the model for the ballistic model deviates the most is literally when Bitcoin is in this range right here. Okay. I'll highlight it. That range right there, it deviates the most. And MicroStrategy is undervalued relative to what its value should be based on where Bitcoin's trading, okay? It correlates to when it's in this range right here. Now, what do you notice about the similarity of where Bitcoin is now in a very similar structure? And if you scroll down to where MicroStrategy has been recently, according to this model, massively undervalued, as Bitcoin consolidates in a very similar structure before a, hopefully, vertical move that looks exactly like this move right here, right? If we were to clone that move, all of a sudden, this is what MSTR does best, guys. It pisses you off. And then in the span of like a month, look at that, perfectly aligns with hitting that first parabola, 160,000, right? It's going to keep pissing people off, saying, oh, this stock sucks, blah, 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 as if it's MicroStrategy. No, no, no. It's the market maker algorithms that do this for every equity, okay? Go back and look. Don't take me at my word. I don't want you to take me at my word. I want you to go look for yourself. Anyways, you're seeing a very, very similar structure on the chart and undervaluing of the MSTR shares relative to what they should be as a function of Bitcoin's price. And what do you know? You're just going to get a snap repricing, and it's going to catch back up to fair value and even exceed fair value because of that MNAV being a thing as well. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. If you're irresponsibly long MSTR like I am, how much would it be worth to you to have somebody who's in the charts daily looking for the perfect entry for shares and options and eventually looking to see if we might have topped and it's time to take profits? If this is something that interests you, I want to invite you to check out my MSTR generational wealth community linked below.